Hello everyone, my name is Marcel Poirier. I'm a business immigration attorney located here in Miami Beach, Florida. The subject of this video will be investor's visa, the E2 visa. It's a very important visa because it allows you to work for yourself, which is one of the only visa, except for the L1A, which is the multinational visa, that allows to work for yourself and to be independent. There are two ways of doing an E2 visa: creation or purchase of an existing business. So let me start with creation. Creation will be the case where you decide that you will rent your space, buy your inventory, do your marketing, hire 1 or 2 employees, and do a business plan. So you decide what is your budget. There are no minimum amount of investment. That's a question that's asked frequently during consultations. The investment has to be able to support you and your family as well as U.S. workers. The definition of U.S. workers will be green card holders or U.S. citizen. So when you hear or you read that the investment must be substantial, the definition of substantial is based on whether or not the investment has the capacity to sustain you and your family and to employ U.S. workers. It is no amount like it's $100,000, $30,000, or $200,000 like people say all the time. And it's not the $500,000 that I hear oftentimes. That was the old amount for a green card based on investment. The E2 visa could be much lower investment as long as it's an active investment and not a passive investment. Very important. If you buy a house and you renovate a house and you lease it year long, it's a passive investment. If you buy a boat that the boat is behind your house or docked in a marina, that would be a passive investment. So it has to be an active investment where you have managerial duties, day-to-day duties, and supervising U.S. workers. The other way of doing it is by purchasing an existing business. One of the main difference between the two is when you do a purchase, you can negotiate with the seller if the seller agrees that the purchase is conditional to visa approval. That means that the money will be held in trust with a business attorney until the visa is approved by the U.S. Embassy of your country. The petition is sent to the U.S. Embassy of your country of origin. Now, important, I didn't mention at the very beginning, but in order to be eligible for an E2 visa, you need to have a treaty between your country and the United States. So, for instance, some countries in the world like Brazil, Portugal, do not have a treaty, so they cannot do an investor's visa. The first thing to do is to check whether or not your country is eligible for an E2 visa and what will be the duration of the visa. So there's a reciprocity treaty between the United States and your country. So a visa could be 1 year, 6 months, 4 months, up to 5 years. So that's the other thing that we have to look at. So going back to the purchase of an existing business, what do you need to look at? You need to look at whether or not the financials are strong enough to support you and your family. How many members are in your family? Do you have 6 children? Do you have 2 children? Are you just one person? So that element is also taken into account. Also, the existing business, does it have employees, full-time employees, how many employees? So those are the things that we look at to determine whether or not this type of business qualifies for the visa. If the seller agrees, you can block the funds until the visa is approved, and at the moment the visa is issued, the money is transferred to the seller. That's if the seller agrees to this condition, this visa approval. Now the process, the file is completely done and it's sent normally electronically or by FedEx to the U.S. Embassy of your country. In the case of a creation, you need to invest before the file is sent out, which scares a lot of people because there's always a question whether or not what's going to happen if there's a denial. The denial is without prejudice. There is no denial that's categoric unless you committed fraud, you have immigration violation, you have a criminal case, or other things that would make you that would be completely ineligible for this visa. Otherwise, you can fix the problem that the embassy would have found, and then you refile the E2 visa. Yes, you do have to repay normally the embassy fees, but it can be a refiling because the creation, they make you invest a proportionate amount of money before they will issue the visa because they need to make sure that you will open your doors and that you will employ U.S. workers. Now, every stage is different type of business of when you can send the file out. So that's something that's determined on a case-by-case basis. So once the file is out, you do have an appointment at the U.S. Embassy of your country, and normally it is in English. Your dependent spouse can have a work authorization after you return to the United States and request work authorization. It is not automatic. Even if your wife owns 50% of the business, it's not automatic. Your dependent children of less than 21 years old can come with you on this E2 visa and have the right to go to school at the same rate as US citizens. So they don't have to pay out-of-state tuition like on a student visa. So that's another advantage of this type of visa. Now, at the end of 5 years or the end of the visa, then you do have to prove by the financials that you were able to live and that you employ US workers. Right now, with the economic climate that we have, I think that we will have more and more opportunities to find good businesses that will be for sale and that you will be able to hire US workers. It's very important that everyone understand that this is not a visa just for yourself. This is a visa where you do have a requirement by law of employing US workers. They can be independent contractors or salaried employees or a combination of both. But you cannot just work by yourself under an E2 visa because it would be denied. So if you have any questions regarding the investor's visa, please contact us. We work with several countries around the world, and we can have a consultation. We can talk about it, talk about your project, talk about your budget, and how you can put it all together. Look at the marketing strategy maybe that you want to do, the type of market research that you need to put in place the E2 visa. It's a very versatile visa that can help you come to the US and especially be independent, where you're not subjected to an employer that could say, well, today you have to leave and that's the end of it, and you have to pack up your family and leave the United States. So please feel free to contact us by email or by phone, and I'll be happy to speak to you by the different types of media that we have today available. And the E2 visa is something to think about. And again, the amount of investment is not as great as everybody thinks. I mean, it can be, but it could also vary according to your project. It would be a pleasure to speak to you soon.